When we talk about shifting reality, most people get excited, they lean in, they want to know the secret, they want to know the method, the steps, the rituals. They want to know which technique works fastest, which affirmation will crack the code, which vision board will finally open the doors. And yet, the very first thing that holds them back is not the method, not the steps, not the ritual. It is belief. Not shallow belief. Not the kind of belief that is repeated just to convince yourself for a moment. I am talking about deep belief. The kind that lives in your bones. The kind that drives you when nobody is watching. The kind that does not need constant proof to keep standing strong. You see, belief is the foundation. Without it, every other tool is like building a skyscraper on sand. You can visualize all day. You can write affirmations until your pen runs out of ink. You can meditate until your legs are numb. But if inside your heart you doubt whether this is possible, your doubt will always outweigh your effort. That is why some people struggle and say, "I've been trying for months, why is nothing changing?" It is because belief is not truly there. They are like a person planting seeds, but checking the soil every hour to see if something has grown. Their impatience comes from a lack of belief in the unseen. Belief is not blind faith. Belief is alignment with a greater truth. It is understanding that your reality is not fixed, that your mind and your heart together are powerful creators. And when you doubt this power, you sabotage yourself. Imagine a pilot who doubts the engine while flying. Do you think he will sit confidently? Do you think the journey will be smooth? No. His fear alone will cause mistakes. In the same way, when you doubt that you can shift, you unconsciously create blockages. Your energy splits in two directions, one moving forward, one pulling you back. That is why people feel stuck in the same cycles. The question is, why don't we believe? The answer is simple: we have been conditioned not to. From childhood, we are told what is realistic, what is possible, what is impossible. We are trained to think that reality is solid, unchangeable, and that we are just passengers in a train already moving. But the truth is, you are not a passenger. You are the driver. You are the one holding the steering wheel of your experience. Yet, when you don't believe in your ability to drive, you let others dictate the path. You allow old voices, old failures, and old fears to decide your future. Belief is powerful because it reprograms the lens through which you see the world. A person who believes opportunities are everywhere a person who believes life is unfair will see only proof of unfairness. Both are living in the same world, yet their experiences are worlds apart. Why? Because belief sets the filter, and reality reflects that filter back to you. You may think, but how do I build belief if I don't feel it yet? The answer is repetition with conviction. Not empty repetition. Conviction. You must speak into your life words that align with where you want to go, and you must live as if it is already unfolding. Belief is strengthened by action. You cannot simply say, "I believe I can shift," while living every day in the same patterns of doubt. Belief is a muscle. You build it by testing it, by stretching it, by using it. Here is the mistake many people make. They wait to believe until they see proof. They say, "Once my shifts, then I will know it works." But that is backward. It is belief first, results second. You don't wait for the fire to give you heat before you add wood. You add wood first, and then the fire rewards you. In the same way, you give belief first, and then the results show themselves. If you wait for proof, you will always wait. This is why people feel stuck. They dabble in belief. One day they are convinced, the next day they are doubtful. One day they say, "I can feel it coming." The next day they say, "Maybe it's not for me." And this back and forth cancels the very energy that was building. Think of a radio dial. If you keep turning it back and forth, will you ever hear a clear song? No, you must lock into the frequency. Belief is that lock. It tunes you to the reality you are reaching for. So I ask you, do you really believe? Not just when you are motivated. Not just when you watch a video like this. Not just when you read a book and feel inspired for an hour. Do you believe in the quiet moments? Do you believe when doubt knocks at the door? Do you believe when you look around and see no sign of change? That is the test. Real belief is not proven when things are easy. It is proven when everything looks the same, yet you still hold on. That is when you are closest to breakthrough. Belief is not about forcing your mind to accept fantasy. It is about aligning with truth so deeply that no circumstance can shake you. It is knowing that the reality you see is only one version, not the final version. It is remembering that creation responds to certainty, not to hesitation. Think about it. The most successful people in the world, the ones who transformed their lives, all carried an unshakable belief before the evidence appeared. That belief became a magnet. That belief pulled resources, people, opportunities, and energy to them. You have to decide whether you are going to keep playing small, doubting your own strength, or whether you are going to step into belief fully. Because until you do, nothing else will matter. No script, no method, no strategy will compensate for a lack of belief. Belief is the engine, and without it, you are sitting in a car with no fuel. Now is the time to stop questioning whether it's possible, and start standing on the truth that it is already within you. The only reason you are not shifting your reality yet is because you have not chosen to fully believe. Once you do, everything else will follow. Because belief is not just the first step, it is the step that carries all the others. One of the greatest reasons people never shift into the reality they truly desire is because they remain too attached to the old story. They want transformation, they want freedom, they want a new chapter, but they refuse to put down the book they've been holding onto for years. And what happens when you keep rereading the same story? You relive the same characters, the same conflicts, the same emotions, and the same outcomes over and over again. If you want to shift into something new, you cannot drag your old identity with you. You cannot expect to become the version of yourself you dream about while clinging tightly to the pain, the labels, and the narratives of who you used to be. The truth is, most people are more loyal to their past than they are to their future. They are more comfortable telling the story of their struggles than embracing the power of their possibilities. You hear it in conversations all the time, people saying, "I've always been this way," or "Nothing ever works out for me," or "This is just who I am." And they repeat it so often that it becomes a prison they live inside. Do you realize that every time you say, "This is who I am," you're writing the script for the next chapter of your life? And yet so many people don't see that the reason they can't shift is because they won't stop repeating the story that keeps them stuck. Your old story might be filled with pain, disappointment, betrayal, or failure. It might have chapters where you felt unseen, unheard, unloved, and unworthy. And because those moments are so real, so sharp, so heavy, you keep holding on to them as if they define you. But let me tell you this: what happened to you is not who you are. Your story may explain you, but it does not define you. And as long as you keep defining yourself by it, you will stay in the cycle it created. If you want to shift your reality, you must release your attachment to the identity that was built around survival. Because survival is not living. Survival was necessary for a season, but now you are here, alive, listening to this message because you are ready for more. Shifting is not just about imagining a new world, it is about letting go of the world that no longer serves you. It is about saying, "I will not let my past pain dictate my future power." But so many people are addicted to their pain. They wear it like armor. They use it as an excuse. They use it to avoid risk. They use it to justify staying small. And the longer you cling to it, the more it becomes your identity. But ask yourself this: do you want to be known for your pain, or do you want to be known for your breakthrough? Do you want to be remembered as the one who stayed in the cycle, or the one who broke it wide open? The attachment to the old story is comfortable because it is familiar. Even if it is painful, at least you know it. At least it feels safe because it is predictable. The unknown is terrifying to most people because it requires surrender. It requires trust. It requires you to step out into a space where you no longer have the excuse of your past to hide behind. And that's why people hesitate. They say they want change, but deep down, they are afraid of who they will be without their story. They are afraid to meet the powerful version of themselves who doesn't lean on excuses anymore. But hear me carefully: if you want to shift your reality, you must bury the old story. You must thank it for the lessons, release it from your grip, and step forward with empty hands, ready to hold something new. You cannot grasp the future with fists still clenched around the past. This is why forgiveness is so powerful. Not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. Forgiveness is the knife that cuts the rope tying you to the old narrative. Without it, you will drag the weight of yesterday into every tomorrow, and you'll wonder why nothing ever changes. Think about it. The most successful transformations in life happen when people rewrite their story. Someone who was once homeless, but became wealthy did it by refusing to keep saying, "I am homeless." They began to say, "I am destined for more." Someone who was once broken by heartbreak but found deep love did it by refusing to say, "I am unworthy." They began to say, "I am valuable. I am enough." The shift starts with the story you tell yourself, because your mind does not argue with your words. It believes them, it builds upon them, it creates according to them. So what is the story you've been telling? That you're too old, that it's too late, that you always fail, that nobody cares. Every single is a chain, and every time you repeat it, you tighten it around your own ankles. But you have the power to break it, right now, by deciding you will no longer repeat what no longer serves you. You have the power to say, "That was my past, but it is not my identity. My future is greater than my history." I want you to imagine for a moment that your life is a book. The last chapter was filled with struggle, yes. Maybe it was messy, maybe it was painful, maybe it was disappointing. But listen, the last chapter does not determine the ending. You are the author. You hold the pen. The only question is, are you going to keep rewriting the same chapter, or are you ready to start a new one? Because the pen is in your hand, and the page is blank. But it will stay blank until you write a new story. And let me tell you something beautiful: the moment you release the old story, the universe rushes in to support the new one. Doors open. People appear. Opportunities align. Not because they weren't there before, but because you were too busy clinging to the past to see them. Once you release the old, your vision clears, and you realize you've been standing in front of doors the whole time. You just couldn't see the handles because your eyes were on the rearview mirror. You cannot move forward while staring backward. You cannot walk into tomorrow while replaying yesterday. And you cannot shift into a new reality while worshipping the old one. You must decide today: will you stay attached to the story that limits you, or will you step into the story that liberates you? Because as long as you are holding on to who you were, you can never embrace who you are meant to be. One of the deepest reasons people struggle to shift into a higher reality is fear. Not fear of what they have been through, but fear of what will happen when they finally let go. Because letting go feels like dying to the old self. It feels like stepping off a cliff without knowing if there's a ground beneath your feet. And most people would rather cling to what is painful but familiar than release it and face the uncertainty of the unknown. That's why they hesitate. That's why they delay. That's why they never take the full step into the new version of themselves. They are afraid to let go of what they have outgrown, even though it is suffocating them, because they fear what might happen when they no longer have it. It's strange, isn't it? How the very things that hurt us the most are often the things we are most afraid to release. A toxic relationship, a limiting belief, an unfulfilling job, a self-destructive habit. We complain about them, we cry about them, we know they are holding us back, but when it comes time to let them go, we freeze. Why? Because they have become part of our identity. Even though they hurt us, they make us feel safe, because they are predictable. And human beings cling to predictability, even when it is killing them. But here's the truth: you cannot walk into the unknown with your hands still clutching the old chains. You cannot fly if you insist on carrying the weights that were meant to stay in the past. Fear whispers lies in your ear. If you let go, you'll be alone. If you let go, you'll fail. If you let go, you'll have nothing. But what if the opposite is true? What if letting go is the very thing that allows you to rise? What if letting go is the doorway to everything you've been praying for? The problem is not that people cannot let go. It's that they don't trust that something better will come after they do. They fear the empty space. They fear the silence. They fear the in-between. And so they stay stuck in cycles, never realizing that the bridge to their new reality is built in the very act of release. I want you to imagine this for a moment. You are standing on a ledge, holding onto a rope that is tied to the past. This rope is frayed, it's burning your hands, it's dragging you down. Ahead of you is another rope, a golden one, glowing, waiting for you to grab it. But here's the thing: you cannot grab it while still holding the old one. You must release the first to take hold of the second. And the terrifying part is the gap in between, that moment when your hands are in the air, not holding onto anything. That is the space most people fear. That is the space where faith is required. And that is the space where the shift happens. So many of you are standing in that space right now. You want to move forward. You want to embrace the vision. You want to step into your destiny. But you are still clutching the rope of your past. You are still attached to the labels, the failures, the disappointments, the betrayals, the identities that no longer serve you. And you are afraid to fully let go because you wonder, what if nothing catches me? What if I fall? But I'm here to tell you, you won't fall, you'll fly. The moment you release what was never meant for you, you give yourself permission to rise into what always was. Letting go is not weakness, it is courage. It is saying, I trust the unknown more than I fear it. I trust the future more than I worship the past. I trust that what is ahead of me is greater than what is behind me. But you cannot just say it. You must act on it. You must take the step. You must cut the ties, because holding on to what no longer belongs in your life is like keeping dead branches on a tree and expecting it to bloom. Pruning hurts, but it creates the space for new growth. Think about the moments in your life when you finally let go of something. Didn't it feel terrifying at first, but freeing afterward? Didn't it create room for something better to enter? Maybe you left a job you hated, and at first you were scared, but later you found something aligned with your soul. Maybe you walked away from someone toxic, and at first you felt empty, but later you found peace, joy, and healthier connections. That's the power of release. It creates space for the blessings you've been waiting for. But here's the catch: you cannot receive with closed hands. As long as your fists are clenched around the old, they cannot open to the new. And so the question is simple, but powerful: what are you still holding on to that is blocking your shift? Is it fear of failure? Fear of rejection? Fear of not being enough? Or maybe it's the illusion of control. The idea that if you keep holding on to what you know, at least you won't be surprised. But real growth, real transformation, real shifting into a new reality never comes with certainty. It comes with surrender. The shift will not wait for your fear to vanish. It will only wait for your decision to rise above it. Fear may never leave completely, but courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward despite it. And the moment you choose courage over comfort, you create the pathway to your new reality. So hear me clearly: if you want to shift, you must let go. Fully. Not halfway, not one hand on the past and one hand on the future. Fully. Because halfway letting go is still holding on. You can't expect new results with divided loyalty. You can't live in yesterday and tomorrow at the same time. You must decide with conviction, with faith, that your new reality is worth more than the false safety of your old one. And when you make that decision, everything changes. The fear may still be there, whispering, trying to convince you to stay small, but your spirit will roar louder. The old story will try to call you back, but your vision will pull you forward. And step by step, release by release, you will discover that the fear was never real power. It was only an illusion meant to keep you trapped. And so I leave you with this truth: the moment you fully let go is the moment you fully shift.